Hi friends, it's Joan at 10 Pentacles Tarot, and today I'm going to tell you another scary story from the creepy house that we lived in. This was in 2010, I believe. So, the thing that happened that I'm going to tell you about. Yeah, this was in 2010. So, let me, I didn't write it. Apparently it happened in late January or early February. Let me just preface this by saying this is the third installment of scary stories from this really weird house that my husband and son and I lived in for a while. And really, really strange things happened there. I've always had a few things happen wherever I live, but this was constantly. It was so bad that I called in a psychic, and I'm going to tell you about that too. But let me tell you about this story that happened. So it says, this is my journal that I kept, and I've been calling it Normal Paranormal because I got to thinking, this stuff may be a lot more common than we know, and people just don't like to talk about it because they think everybody will think they're crazy. So it says sometime around late January or early February, and I didn't write this because I thought or hoped there was a logical explanation for it. It was right around 6 o'clock in the morning, and I just walked back into the house after switching cars with Michael so he could drive the van to work. He was a bus driver at the time. So I walked in the back door, took my coat and shoes off, and walked into the living room. It was dark, but the front porch light was on, so the window was illuminated. I saw a distinct shadow of a person walk from the second window toward the end of the porch. In other words, it didn't appear until the second window. These were a bank of like 3 windows together. So anyway, the shadow went from the second window toward the end of the porch. I thought at first it was Michael, but then I realized he would have no reason to be on the front porch if he had come back home, because we never used the front door. We always used the back door. So I thought it might be a prowler, and then I got worried. So I was afraid to open the door and look, but I turned on all the lights and I hoped for the best. Later I told Michael about it, and he thought it must be a person outside with a car light or street light behind him. And it actually looked like a man with a hat on. Not a baseball cap, but like a hat with a brim. And but there were no car lights at the time. The shadow was very dark, and it was as tall as the window. Then a few days ago, and when I wrote this, it was March 28th, Michael said, when I came home, he said, "I saw your shadow last night." Now, I didn't know what he was talking about. He said that the night before, while we were watching TV and I had fallen asleep, he saw the same shadow I had described that moved from the second window toward the edge of the porch. Now, I've got a note here. If this were actually a person on the porch, they would have tripped over a concrete dog that was there just past that window, and they would have taken a 2 to 3 foot drop straight down to the driveway, because there was nothing blocking that. I mean, you could just fall right off the edge. And there's no indication that that had happened to the person. And Michael said when he saw this, there were no car lights or other unusual lights outside. And he described exactly what I had seen, with one exception. He thinks the shadow was on the inside of the house, because he said he only saw it move past the window it said he only saw it move past the window, not into the corner. The lights and TV were on when this happened. Well, then it says just last week, it was early morning again, and I saw a big shadow in that corner on the inside next to the bookshelf. And when I looked again, it was gone. So I said, okay, and I turned all the lights on. So Michael was sure that the shadow was on the inside. I did not know if it was, but we did try to recreate it. I mean, we went outside, we put the car at different places in the driveway with the headlights on. We did it when the street light was on outside. We did it when the front porch light was on, when the front porch light was off. We tried everything, and we never could duplicate it. All right, so next it says, this is a different one. On Saturday, February 13th, Michael went to Lexington, and Joel and I were at home. I was in the kitchen by the sink, facing the sink, making chili. 2 or 3 times I felt someone come up behind me, and it was as though a big shadow slightly darkened the wall in front of me, like it would if a big person walked up behind me. But no one was there, and every time I turned around, it went away. I asked Joel if it was him, and he said it wasn't. He was in his room the whole time. Plus, there was no way that he could with size 15 shoes, could have been silent and done that 3 or more times. I can say that it felt like a man, and I felt creeped out, but not threatened. And then after I was done cooking, nothing else happened that day. So I'm going to pause there and tell you that after all of the weird things that were happening, and there were a whole bunch more in my trusty little book here, I actually found out about a psychic in the area, and I called her in, and I called her, and I paid her to come. And she, after she came, she wrote this letter to me about what she found. And this is what it said. Findings. The dwelling is built over a water source and is close to a natural spring. I believe this to be a deep spring which runs under the bedrock. There may be a cave or a sinkhole forming nearby. I'm not sure where she got that idea, but okay. The dwelling is built over or very close to an outbuilding from a farm that once served the area. This outbuilding was a place of violence perpetrated by an employee of the farm upon the slaves and or farmhands, women and children, people of color, African and possibly Native American as well. This violence was perpetrated in secret in this outbuilding. I believe bones of the victims can be found in the nearby field and may have even been found when building the subdivision that is now occupying the land. I feel as if the employer of the evildoer did not initially know of the wrongdoing, but at some point discovered it. The perpetrator did not pay for his crimes, nor was he exposed, thereby allowing the evildoing to continue unhindered. The guilt of the landowner is held in the land itself by his choice to turn a blind eye to the suffering caused. The landowner did not act to correct the behavior of the evil perpetrator due to his own egocentricity, greed, and shame. The perpetrator was good at the job he performed, and the landowner did not want to be publicly associated with these crimes and believed he would somehow suffer a stain to his reputation if he came forward. Later, the landowner had a loved one, a daughter or granddaughter, who suffered at the hands of this employee. She may have disappeared, and the landowner knew in his heart of her fate, or she came forward and either died or was ridiculed rather than protected or defended. I get a sense that the evildoer told the landowner of this very act and reveled in the anguish he caused by disclosing his secrets to this man who believed he was bound to silence. To the death, the landowner never spoke up and remained spiritually enslaved to his own guilt for this choice, thereby inviting more and more of the same evil to the area. I believe that it is the original history which is the causation for what now remains as a lingering energy. This ghost is a thought form comprised of the essence of the perpetrator's sadistic passion to cause human suffering, fed by the intense anguish and guilt that the landowner placed upon himself for keeping silent. There seems to be an endless source of food for the perpetuation of this thought form that is generated from the extremely powerful emotions of human pain manifested by these events. Note, the dwelling has energetic signatures of similar violence and emotional trauma from more recent events, including, but not limited to, domestic violence, rape, assault, child abuse, and neglect. I feel that these instances were brief in comparison to the original acts, but provided fodder for this thought form's continued survival. Now, I can say that when I lived there, there was no violence like that going on at all. So if that was true, it happened before we moved there. Then it says, the emotional energy created by the accumulation of these events was never resolved because it was never exposed. Therefore, a continued vortex of darkness still spins here and feeds upon the spiritual energy generated from emotions of the living beings now occupying the same space. These energetic forces must be recognized as fueling one another, acknowledged separately, and given over to the light of Yahweh through Christ for the final sorting. Recommendations. The living beings in this space are at liberty to gain a spiritual lesson offered from the events of the past. Expose evil to the light of day and it will shrivel up, disappear, just like mold or mildew. Remaining silent to the wrongdoing of others validates the perpetrator, who then permits himself to believe that the acts are justified and will continue to cause harm with even more fervor. Silence gives permission, but it only does so once. Do not ever take on the responsibility for the act of others. Claiming guilt for the continuation of another's acts because one chose silence provides a channel for perpetual energetic bleeding, enslaving the silent one to the perpetrator. Silence neither causes nor fails to prevent. It is a choice based in fear. The lesson is to recognize and rise above the fear. And then she says, for the dwelling, wash all floors with a solution of including carpets with a solution of sea salt and water. All residents should wash their bodies with sea salt as well. And it goes on, pray out loud as you do these things. And you are one of God's children and he loves you. I suggest opening windows and doors fully during the day whenever possible and allowing wind and sun to come inside. Open the curtains to let in sunlight. Burn sage. Paint the walls bright colors that are pleasing to you. Get full spectrum light bulbs for the whole house. Fresh flowers are good energy boosters. Add wind chimes with pleasant sounds to doorways and windows for an additional positive energy enhancement. So that was pretty much her advice. Now, I would like to say this. After we moved out, my husband admitted, his personality did kind of change for the worse while we were there. We fought a lot more than we had, before we lived there. And he said that he always felt anger. He always had a very angry feeling when he was in that house. So those are just some things that happened. I'm kind of curious about what might have happened to the people who lived there after us. I hope nothing, horrible happened to them. I drive by there every now and then just out of curiosity. The first time I drove by was a couple years ago, and it looked like no one lived there. It looked sort of run down. Then the last time I drove by was about probably 6 months ago. I don't even know why I do that. It's just like the place was so weird and creepy and unusual. I just guess I'm curious, and I probably shouldn't do that at all. What do you think about that? Leave a comment. And then we moved into an apartment, and I did catch one. We moved into an apartment. Of course, all the main, really bad things were done with. But we still, saw a few things. And one day, I want to show you this picture. I caught a picture of this in my kitchen. I promise you it was not a bug. It was not a light reflection. I'm pretty sure it was an orb, and a pretty big one at that. So that's just something. One night I got out my camera and I just had the urge to take a picture, and boom, there it was. So that's pretty interesting. And that was, actually that was in August of 2017. So that was quite a bit later after that, after the house. And then, and this is the picture. Oh, I gotcha. This makes sense. So this was at 10:33. There was nothing in the picture, and then another shot at 10:33, and there it was. So, very interesting. Okay. All right. So someone pointed out to me when I said, oh, nothing weird ever happened after we left that house. But weird things did happen after we left the house, and they continue to happen, but they're not scary. They're strange, but they're not scary and creepy like the things were at that house. There was something very, very wrong in that house. Now, whether it was what the psychic said or whether she just had a great imagination, I really don't know. I don't know a whole lot about her, and Michael did not think she was for real. So, I don't know. I can't say one way or the other. Her story is very interesting. If it was true, it would explain a lot of things. But like I said, the paranormal stuff still happens every now and then. I have some stories for you about that. But like I said, it doesn't feel evil and it doesn't feel bad now when things happen. Or ever since we left that house, I haven't felt anything bad like that, or really, that really scared me. All right, well, that's all I have for you. If you enjoyed the stories, if you want to hear more, or even if you want to hear about the latest stuff that's going on, just let me know. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Check out the other scary stories I have also on my YouTube channel. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, you'll be notified whenever a new video is uploaded. If you hit the notification bell. If you subscribe, it really, really helps me out a lot. I'd appreciate it. I appreciate you more than you will ever know. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever it is where you are. And I hope to see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.